Welcome to Spirit Baby Radio. I am your host, Kelly Meehan, a citizen of the universe and a passage keeper and mentor for our new Earth children. I believe we are entering into a new psychic structure of our reality, and it is meant to embody deeper trust and ways into solid self-love and fearless integrity. Our new world energy of spirit babies needs us to consciously create within conception, trust pregnancy, and have freedom to birth and parent from innate wisdom. This is Spirit Baby Radio. Welcome to episode 243, May 2026. Spirit Baby Stories, sharing from the heart from conception into birth. The new earth children of today, real spirit baby stories, real connection, and real truth, where spirituality and science meet to expand how we understand life itself. I'm honored to welcome our special guest, Pamela.
Hello, thank you so much for having me. I'm so honored to be here.
And I feel like she's an expert in motherhood and birthing in her own terms.
Okay.
I'm going to read a little bit here about you. Pamela, I didn't get your last name. Can you say it?
Yeah, Topjian,
Yeah, I wasn't going to
Topjian.
attempt that. Thank you for saying
Topjian, yeah.
Pamela Topjian is the mother of two adult children, choosing to have a midwife-attended home birth with her second baby in 93 after an unsatisfactory hospital birth of her first child at age 17. She's a survivor of childhood trauma, which led her to trauma in adulthood and finally healing after a mental breakdown. Part of the healing process was writing, and now Pamela is the author of two memoirs. She's also a former nurse who left the profession during the pandemic, now a full-time pet sitter and holistic health podcaster. Yay,
Yeah.
thank you for being here.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, yes.
And I always like to share, this is something I always do on Spirit Baby Radio is, and this is the special stories edition, like how do I meet people? And I don't believe in chance or coincidence. And
Right.
we were in this group, it was a really great group, a Facebook group. I really like that group. There's so many amazing creative energies in there. Even just that alone lights me up. And
Yeah.
then I said, this is my podcast, which I feel like I'm the only one that does conception, pregnancy, and birth loss kind of vibes. Like I noticed that. And then we connected, and right away I was like, oh, and then I saw her podcast, I was like, oh, and then you got me when you said, hey, I home birthed in the 90s. I was like, wait, we gotta do this. Like, let's come on.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
and why I wanted that was because we were just talking a little bit before, like how our life really sculpts what comes, right? And I want to hear, well, can just kind of begin in actually tell everybody the name of your podcast and the name of your books.
Yeah, so thank you so much. So, the podcast is Holistic Connections Conversations with Holistic Practitioners, and it's on most podcast platforms, and it's also on my YouTube channel, which is just my name. The books are I Didn't Come This Far to Only Come This Far, and the other one is Behind the Mask, Gloves, and Scrubs One Nurse's Journey. And both of those are on Amazon. If you put my name in the Amazon search, they'll come up quicker than if you try to put the titles in there. Yeah,
Well, we're going to have them in the show notes here for you, so we'll
great.
make it easy for people to find. But I wanted you to announce it more. Wow, what fascinating titles.
Thank you. Thank
I
you.
love
Yeah, I'm
that.
pretty proud of
Yeah.
that. I usually when I'm writing, I'm writing the third book actually, and usually when I'm writing, the title is always like, that's like the main thing until I get something that's like, yes, that's it. That's always something going on in my mind, like the title. It just has
Do
to be
you
good.
do you have a future energy around being like a keynote speaker or something with your books and your work?
I no, I don't feel like I'm a good speaker. For somebody
But you
who's
are a podcaster.
for somebody who does you know what? I came into podcasting accidentally. I never wanted to be a podcaster. So I had my YouTube channel and I did different things on there and I decided to so I was a hypnotherapist for 5 years, stepped away from that and then that's when I decided to invite other holistic practitioners on my YouTube channel to talk about what they do and give them another place to explain what they do in their own words and help sort of dispel any misconceptions about whatever the holistic practice is that they do. And once I started having guests on, people started calling it a podcast. So that's when I thought, well, I wonder if I could get the audio on podcast platforms just to these episodes because I do other videos on my channel as well. And I thought if I can get, it just helps to spread the word a little more, right? So I looked into that, started doing that, and now I have a podcast.
I love that you just said I wasn't going to be a podcaster. And then you made me think like when I set out, I'm hitting my 10-year anniversary of
Ah,
podcasting
wow.
yeah, in April. And so for me, I didn't think about being a podcaster, but I think now it's like a thing, like it's a
Yeah.
brand and a career. But back then I just thought, oh, this I I just thought it'd be fun to talk about things about babies and
Yeah.
energetic and psychic stuff. Honestly, that's how it began. And
Yeah.
then it was like, yeah, it's so fascinating when you said that. Yeah, I don't know if, yeah, maybe some people do set out to do that. And I
Yeah.
love how you're just like, okay, because I do have friends that do like, I thought they were podcasts, but they're like streamline, yeah, like
hmm
video, like what, I think we just sometimes generalize. But yours is more
Yeah.
official. You have that podcast, which is amazing, and your books, and the third book's in the works. That's, wonderful. But I know it's your life experience that has set you up. And we were talking a little bit
Yeah.
before. And what I go into is like, okay, setting the scene right now, 1993, you're having your firstborn. And then after that, you're going home birth. Kind of fill me, what is home birth in the 90s like? Because I know even 15 years ago, it was people are very scared, very judgmental. What was your experience, and why did you even feel called to do it?
Yeah. So, first of all, so I felt called to do it because I had a hospital birth. Now, I was a teenager but it was very, by any standards, it would be considered a natural childbirth, even at the hospital, because it was a vaginal birth and I didn't have an epidural, I wasn't there in time to get any kind of medication. I believe they just numbed the area and that was it. And then I had my baby. But I felt very, and maybe again, maybe because I was a teen, but I felt very, exposed is not the right word, but it felt too medical for me. And I had always wanted it to be a natural thing because for some reason at that age, I don't even know where that came from, but for some reason, I felt like this is something that every female mammal knows how to do inherently, and let's just do it the way it's supposed to be done, unless there's a medical emergency. And I don't feel like birth is a medical emergency, and I never did, and I don't know where that came from, honestly. But but so I just did not like the experience. So then after I had my baby, like I said, I was 17. After I had him, I'm secretly searching about alternative ways to birth. This means I'm going to the library. Have
Yeah,
my baby with me.
that's right.
I have my baby with me. I'm going to the library, getting every book I can on home birth, natural birth, all this midwifery from the past, and so just doing my own research at the library with my little newborn as a teenager. And I decided that my next baby, whenever that was going to be, would be at home or a birthing center, or it wasn't going to be the same hospital experience that I had. So that's how that started. And then, so 9 years later, I am pregnant. I'm having another baby. I'm married at this point. And I don't remember when I first brought it up to my husband at that time. I don't remember his response, but he wasn't against it. But his whole family was,
Mhm.
and most of my family was. And I even was called, even was accused of like child abuse, or neglect or
Wow.
whatever. Not luckily, not by any authorities, but just,
Yeah.
people,
There
family.
are people that get in trouble through authorities
Yeah.
and
So
yeah.
we had found a midwife in the area, and actually not really. I was in a very small town at that time, so she was actually almost an hour away. So that was close. That was like the closest one we found. And I would go to her for my prenatal visits, and it was just wonderful. I met a lot of women in that community, and that was great. And so what we were given at that time, or what I was given, was just stacks of like VHS tapes and a bunch of books of, and the VHS tapes were women like in other countries giving birth outside or like just squatting in a row, a bunch of women giving birth. And then also more, at that time, modern home births. So it's just like one home birth after the other, kind of get your mind set on, it was almost like a hypnotic kind of a thing, to show your mind that it's possible to happen. Because we all have heard, women tell the worst horrific birth stories more so than they tell their successful, nice birth stories. So you always hear that in the background when you're pregnant. Women are hearing all these horrific birth
Mhm.
stories and, getting advice. And a lot of it is, you just don't even, just go for that epidural or, or just schedule a C-section. It's going to be easier. So all these things, and they don't even know what they're really getting in for, especially with a first time birth. Um, so you're hearing a lot of that stuff. And so I got all these videos to watch of all these different natural and home births and outside birth, all the different ways to home birth. And yeah, there was no internet, no anything. I got accused of child neglect.
Mm.
I don't think that, so some people were like, do they still have midwives? Like, I thought that was something from the
Wow,
1800s.
interesting.
And
Wow.
yeah, and then of course, Ina May Gaskin,
Yeah.
I had her books and just such a inspiration and such a lovely woman. So I actually did get to meet her, and
Wow.
but that wasn't until after, till later. But
Mhm.
but yeah, so yeah, there were people that I knew like in my community. So the people that had home births at that time were either super, super religious or super, super sort of on the more natural country, crunchy hippie side,
Mm-hmm.
or, a little bit of both. And so yeah, so that was, you know,
Yeah, I can imagine. I can, I can, I mean, I won't say I can't imagine. I could imagine because I remember even just 15 years ago with my firstborn, how I was told by actually my husband's like coworker, just I don't even know this person came up to me like you shouldn't home birth, and I was like, who are you? I don't even know
yeah, who
you.
are
Like,
you? Yeah.
what is your problem? And I learned to give people back their energy. So it was
Mhm.
like I said, oh, that makes you uncomfortable. That's how you feel.
Yeah.
And but I know it can be very super intensifying that
Yeah.
people are being so negative and judgmental, especially in that time. It's like you said, the midwives, what is that from the 1700s? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
and that you had some instinct in your own heart space that said, this is nature, this
hmm
is natural. And but to be, yeah, I've seen that too with other things that I feel like when we try to like listen to our hearts and go in directions that are more natural, they do get attacked, which then makes
Yeah.
you think like that's interesting. Like even when we can even bring that down to foods, medical care,
Yeah.
it's like everybody has an opinion against someone else's feelings. Like when
Yeah.
someone's out there and they're feeding their kids McDonald's, I'm not like, hey, you shouldn't do that. Like
Right.
that's their
Right.
like you do you. Like if you think that
hmm
that's good stuff, it's none of my business in a sense.
Right.
I think we should just cancel all the McDonald's overall, but that's a whole
hmm
other conversation.
Right. Right.
Just don't have them there to begin with, and then there
Right.
won't be a problem. But yeah, just to be, but it was great that your husband was on your side. Like you're like, because that I
Yeah.
feel like is the most important. It's like he's
Yeah.
trusting you to go, okay,
It would have been hard
yeah.
to handle all of that if he was against it. And and he was very controlling, so I don't know how things would
Mm.
have gone had he been completely against it. I think a big part of it for him was just cost because he was so like controlling and so always worried about money. And I think that a big part of it was it was going to be a lot cheaper for him. Um,
Nobody
but
says that anymore. It's
I
cheaper
know,
for
I know.
Actually, if you look at the numbers, midwifery is way cheaper than a hospital birth. But I think
Yeah,
most people have insurance, right?
right.
I know that it can go up to 30 to 50,000. I know that in LA at Cedars, it can get up to that price. I don't know. Whereas like a home birth is like what, 4 or 5,000 maybe. Maybe it's a little bit more nowadays. I don't even know.
I have no idea, and I was trying to remember, and I don't speak with my ex-husband at all, and I was trying to remember, and I even talked to my daughter, who's now in her 30s, to ask if she had any idea or if she could even ask her dad, and I don't think she ever did. But I was trying to remember how much it cost us, and I think it was like $100 every time I saw the midwife. Who just wrote out a
Interesting.
check and gave her
Yeah.
a hundred
Yeah.
dollars,
Yeah.
and then it was like $1,000, like for the birth and the aftercare and like our little home birth kit that we got. So like everything else besides the prenatal visits were like a flat like $1,000. Because I do remember, so the midwife didn't make it actually. So I
Yeah. I
had an
wanted to hear this
unassisted home
story.
birth. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I
I
love
think that
that.
he was like, trying to get some of that money back because she didn't make it.
Oh
But
my gosh, that's so silly.
I mean, she
Like
made
that,
it, but not on
yeah.
time.
Yeah. Well, it's like, hey, what are you supposed to hold the baby in? Wait
Yeah.
for the midwife. Like that's
Yeah.
so that somebody that would be very controlling would do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, so tell us what I love that. I feel like unassisted birth is what they used to call it, but now they call it
Hmm.
free birth. Did you know this
Free
term?
birth. Okay.
It's called free
I
birth
have
now.
heard of free birth, but I did not know that that was something different than,
No, I think it's the
you know,
same. It's the same, but they just changed the term.
okay. I'm trying to think what I had thought it was. I think I'm thinking it was more of like, yeah,
Land?
unassisted, but maybe more like, in the water, outside, or, by a tree or just wherever, you know what I mean? Just like your dog, would give
So
birth or
Pamela,
something.
you free birth. That's what you
Okay.
did.
Okay.
I like that by a tree, hanging out over here.
I'm just thinking
I
like
know. Yeah,
free
yeah,
in the
yeah.
world, you know. I was in my living room.
Yeah, perfect. So then what happened? So you're going into labor and
Yeah, so I started my labor. I don't remember if my water broke. Isn't this funny that I don't remember? I think my water broke in the middle of the night. And I think that, I had another number of a midwife, either it was another midwife or an assistant to her or something, but I had another number besides the midwife, because like I said, the midwife was like an hour away. So I called her and let her know, and she said, try to get back to sleep and, let Ellen was the midwife's name. Let Ellen know when they're like, I don't know what she said, 5 minutes apart or whatever she said. And I couldn't go back to sleep. So I ended up like pacing. I baked some stuff and, just I got in the bath. I did all this stuff in the middle of the night while my husband and my son are sleeping. And then the morning, so she was born at 11 or 11:04 or something. And so the morning, my husband went to work, my son went to school. My mother was actually visiting from Missouri to be there to help. And so everybody got up. Yes, I'm in labor. Yes, they're starting to get, harder. And I had kept feeling like I'm not ready for the midwife. I'm not ready for the midwife. So I kept like kind of putting it off and putting it off. And finally, so my husband was at work and finally my mother was like, you need to call a midwife, get her over here. So finally when I did, and then I called my husband and then he came because he was pretty close. So he came and the midwife was going to be on her way shortly. And this was like, I think 10:30 about when I called. And like I said, she was born at 11:04. So my husband came in the
wow.
door and I'm like, I'm already undressed from the waist down. My mother, we had a little like booklet of in case the birth happens before the midwife makes
Oh
it.
my
My
gosh.
mother's yelling things out of the little booklet. She's a little bit panicky. So my husband walks in. I'm like, get this, do this, do this. So I'm being like my own midwife.
Wow.
We need to
Yeah.
set this up. You need to have this ready and blah, blah, blah. But wash your hands, take a shower first. So I'm like,
Scrub up. That's your nurse background, huh?
well, I wasn't a nurse yet, but
Oh, you weren't. You were pre-nursing. Yeah.
so I was being my own midwife, is what I like to say. I was my own midwife. So then, yeah, so we had a shower curtain. My husband had made a little like squatting stool, a birthing stool. And so we got everything set up. I had the back up against the couch. I had the shower curtain underneath me. I had the birthing stool, and I think we had a towel over that or something. And she was born into my husband's arms.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, it was amazing. It was amazing. She was huge.
How much did she weigh?
So I think she was 8 pounds something. So
Sweet.
first of all, she was 9 days past the due date,
Ah, okay.
and my midwife had told me a couple days before, if there's if the baby is 10 days past, then I have to go to the hospital.
Oh,
They weren't going to be
interesting.
comfortable with doing a home birth at 10 days past the due date,
Yeah, there's
which is
rules.
interesting because another
I
midwife
know.
I've worked with, and she's still a midwife. She doesn't even care about the due date. She goes more
Mm.
with what's going on with the baby and the mother, you know. But anyway, so it was going to be if I didn't go into labor till the next day, I would have had to gone to the
Wow.
hospital. So she was, she was born. So
She's like, I'm
obviously,
not doing it. I'm going to be born at home.
right, right.
It just shows you all these fake rules, really is what they
Mm-hmm.
are. I've a lot of doctors that are speaking out about it, the ones that they're trying to censor, they just make up these ideas, but
Yeah.
they're I went over my due date with my second and there
Mm-hmm.
was no stress or energy around it. And I
Yeah.
did home birth him and it was perfect. It was just
Mm-hmm.
whatever it needed to be. But I know what you're saying about that. Like I almost feel like right as we enter the birth portal, there's this like I remember sitting down going, I can't go to sleep. Like I have to do something. But it
Yeah.
was a very unique energy. It's something, and then you're baking, you're just like, you're almost like, I don't know, something's telling you just to not sleep, right? It's just
Yeah.
like, and then I love that. So I'm curious. So your husband caught his own daughter.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make a different relationship for them as they grow together? So he had that first contact. What is your
So,
observation?
um, it's hard to say what it would have been without that, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
So, and we don't have another child together. So it's
And
hard to
you're
say what it would
separate. You
be.
said you're separate from him now, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And it's been many, many years.
Yeah.
But but they are very close.
Hmm.
And I really don't think it'd be different had we had a, more typical hospital birth. They're just close. So,
I
that's
always feel
good.
like that
But
contact that we have with the human being is really
you would think,
valuable
you would think,
from
yeah.
only because from my own background within birth psychology, knowing that that foundational space, what we do in those
Mm-hmm.
moments imprints a lot upon us. So
Yeah.
I'm just curious, like, because I know my husband caught our second, and they do
Mm-hmm.
have a very unique connection,
Yeah.
not like my first. So it's an
Mm.
observation that I have. I'm like, huh. But then, I see moms catching their own babies now, and they
Right.
do that a lot. Like, I couldn't have done that, but that's me. I'd be
Yeah.
like, let the baby slide across the floor. I was
Right.
so in the zone. But
Yeah.
some women, I see these, that's why I'm so thankful for social media, Instagram, these videos, these women
Yes.
are bearing literally their vaginas, but bearing their whole reality of the
Mm-hmm.
portal of this being coming in. And I'm just blown away all the time.
It's so amazing. It's so amazing for sure. And yeah, I've had it's been like one of the best experiences of my life. I've been assisting, I've had the pleasure and the honor to assist at about 10 home births
Wow.
after that. And because I was apprenticing with midwives for a little while. And not right after that. It was a few years after I had my own. But yeah, it's just such
What
a
made you want to do that?
because I felt like we were talking about in the beginning, before we started recording, I was like, more people need to know about this,
Yeah.
More people there needs to be more opportunity. And I thought, that I thought someday I would be a midwife. And I thought, I could do this. I looked
Mm.
into how to become a midwife. And at that time, I lived in Michigan, and you could become a certified midwife. And there were all these, the stuff laid out as to what you had to do. And so I thought I could do that. And I had just such a, I don't know what the word is for it, just such a respect, I guess, for the midwives I had met and for what they do. And the experiences of these women were it was like a spiritual experience for sure. It was just such an awakening for them, being able to give birth naturally. And
Mm.
the pushback that I got from, wanting to do that and how many horrific you hear from the hospital.
Yeah.
And again, I don't want to say that I'm against hospital birth, but I just want people to know all their options before they make a decision. And so that was, what made me want to do that because I thought that I could, and I thought that, it was needed, and I just wanted it to be more accessible to more people.
Mm. So how old were you when you had your home birth? Remind me.
I was 26.
Yeah, that's what I thought. You were in your 20s. And just recently, just like a
Uh,
week or two ago, my husband's job, they're all in their 20s. It's like gymnastics. So they're all in their 20s. And one of the young women, I said something because I just can't keep my mouth closed a lot of times when it comes to birth.
that used to be
And
me.
yeah, I was like, and I said, you know what? I said, you guys are all in your 20s. They're all having babies now. And I go, you should all be home birthing. Like there's a no-brainer there for because I'm like, it's so easy when you're in your 20-year-old body to have a really quick, your stem cells are different, your body is not, your growth hormones didn't stop yet. And I'm like, it's a no-brainer. And then the one woman says, the young girl says, I would be scared. And I was like, oh man. I was like, no. And I said, that's okay. I said, that's because that's what we were told. Can't help it,
Right.
Pamela. I'm
I
like, that's because
know.
that's what we're told, and it's just commonality. But I think that's what we're doing. It's like I'm not telling them to not do that, but it's like, yeah, it's about questioning it and looking like,
Yeah.
oh, does this fit right in the space? And I think that it's okay to have fear in
Yeah.
situations,
And I think that through the whole process, so you've got 9 months, right? Or even if you don't find out you're
Yeah.
pregnant for a few months, you've got a long time. You've got a
Yeah.
half a year to prepare and to learn so much about it
Yeah.
that it's sort of the more you know, the less you're afraid. So I
Yeah,
think
I
that
like
that's
that.
what, yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's just like, it reminds me of when I started going into nursing school. I was so scared and I thought, I don't know anything. I can't do this. I don't know if I'm smart enough. I don't know if I can do it. And my friend said, they're going to teach you how to do it. That's why you're going to school. They're going to teach
Oh
you.
yeah.
You don't have to know
Yeah,
anything right
yeah.
now. It's like, oh, okay. Yeah, that's
So how
true.
long did you nurse for?
You mean being a
Like,
nurse
yeah,
or?
being a nurse, yeah, not nursing your babies. Yeah, like how long did you go to after you graduated? Like, yeah, did you work in the hospital and
So I was a nurse for 14 years before I let my
wow,
license
okay.
go. So that was from about 2007, I think. 2007 is when I started, I believe. And then I let the license go in 2021. Um, so I worked in several different places as a nurse. It never, like just 5 years in, I was already looking for something different. It never,
Interesting. Yeah.
yeah, it never was what I thought it would be. It was always, every place I worked was understaffed, never
Mm,
rightly supplied, and that only got worse. Um, and just, it was just so, so stressful, and you're overworked. I did a lot of overtime and, sometimes working 16-hour shifts
wow,
and
yeah.
sometimes having between 20 and 40 patients all to myself with multiple med carts. And I say all to myself, but of course I have to give props to the CNAs, the certified nursing assistants, which, were running around like ants, but we never had enough of them either. So, so yeah, I was 14 years,
Wow.
as a nurse. And when I gave that up, I went into hypnotherapy. And after 5 years of that, usually, kind of up to 3 years. And then I was like, this is, I sound like I'm kind of give up on things, but after 3 years, it was like, this is just too much for me. But, just trying to, it seemed like always trying to prove or always trying to
Mm,
convince people or, explain it away. And even now I have a hard time explaining hypnotherapy that well. It was just, such a daily grind of just trying to have that practice and do that. So I gave that up as well. And now full-time pet sitter, author, podcaster.
I
But
didn't, yeah,
I'm
but I
60
think
this year
I
too, so
know.
it's like
Oh,
it's okay
wow. There
you
you
know,
go.
kind of my inner peace is so we mentioned I had a mental breakdown at one point.
Yeah.
And that was since that time, my inner peace is my number one priority. So the hypnotherapy was after the mental breakdown, and so that was like, I thought that that was going to be really nice, a real nice thing to go into that I
Mm.
could do forever as long as I had my voice and my mind. And I didn't realize how much stress entrepreneurship would be for me and the constant marketing and everything that goes into it. And so anything that caused me more stress than,
Mm.
we expect a little bit of stress in our lives, and that's sometimes a good thing, actually. But it was just too much. It was just too much.
But
And
you're
like I
right
said, my,
that, yeah, not to cut you off, but
yeah, it's okay.
when we've had foundational traumas and we have certain level of our nervous system lives in that fight or
Yeah.
flight space that we don't even know about. So I understand what you're saying. It's like where you're kind of moving into. But also I work with a lot of nurses come to me and I love nurse energy because they're strong empaths, they're
Mm,
feelers. And they have a like sometimes a healer quality about their heart space that's very different than others. So I can
mm,
see definitely a lot of nurses burn out or they're just
yeah.
done. Because I also have an ER doctor friend. She
Hmm.
was telling me all about and she's very much into that. Like she's not like against it. She's into everything of that medical model, which is very opposite of me, by the way.
Right.
But yet we're friends.
Yeah.
But she does say that the hospital is a business
Right.
and it
Right.
has to be run a
Exactly.
certain way. And I don't think people think of that. It's not a charity, it's not like a generosity. And I know you're not the only one that nurses have been worked to the bone, and
Hmm.
some at the detriment of their own mind and spirit, which is unfortunate because it's such a
Very.
valuable but when I think of a nurse, just from my perspective, I feel like they give so much energy and the people take a lot
Yeah.
because they're wounded, they're sick, they have darker energies, they don't know.
Yeah.
So, but for you to be in it that long, that's pretty incredible, to be honest.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then, moving, I think we're moving in different directions with with our lives. And mental breakdowns, do you feel like mental breakdowns can't they be like acceleration boosts into another rebirth of yourself? You're like, okay.
100%.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I am great. I needed that breakdown. I needed that to be who I am today. And I've never loved myself and loved my life more than I do right here, right
Wow.
now.
Yeah.
And I would not have been here if I didn't have that happen. I see a hair flying up there. So, so, so yeah, that absolutely, broke me open. And, I did a little video on my YouTube channel about the whole thing.
Oh, I'll
And
have to go watch it.
it's pretty much what my book is, but it was like
Oh, nice. Okay.
from breakdown to
Yeah.
breakthrough. And so it was such a huge breakthrough of me, of who I am and what I'm doing in the world. And just being fully me because I never was in my life. I don't feel like. And having that mental breakdown I almost didn't make it. It was one of the worst times in my
Oh,
life. It was very
yeah.
dark. And, but on the other side of that, life has been better and better every year since then. So, yeah.
I feel like a lot of people were breaking in 2020. Was it around that time or was it before or after?
So it was just before that. It was about 2017,
Okay, yeah.
2016, 15, 16, kind of 17 starting to come out of
Wow.
it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But that was right after my second divorce. So
Mm,
my first marriage was to my daughter's husband. We were married 15 years,
wow.
but I married again right after. And, I like to say that I jumped out of the frying pan and into the fire. It was
Mm.
the first marriage was toxic in its own way. The second marriage was much, much worse and
Oh,
abusive.
wow.
And so then at the end of that, I had never dealt with childhood stuff. And at the end of
Mm-hmm.
that, when I was finally alone, that's when I had a big mental breakdown.
Wow.
And I really thought that it was like, why I was so shocked and beating myself up about it. It's like, everything should be great now. You
Mm.
don't have anyone else to take care of. The kids have been grown for a while at that point. I'm away from that husband, the other husband. I mean, I was like, this should be, I had a good job, can take care of myself. I thought this should be awesome, but now I'm like having nightmares, and now
Oh,
I'm,
yeah.
depressed and anxious and fearful and all of that, and can barely take care of myself, a lot of parts of that time. So I didn't know what was going on. I didn't realize until later and through therapy. Um, then I realized all the childhood stuff. So it was like
Mm.
everything crashed down, and it was like my body, mind, and soul all said, okay, now's the time we can bring all this up.
You're like, great.
Now.
I know, right? It's true. I know we were talking a little bit about that earlier, is the childhood stuff, because I was creeping around it very gently around your heart
Mhm.
space because I was like, because it's a big deal and we don't talk about like the energy of child, whether it's younger or teenage years or even just sexual assault abuse, and then you become a mother and you're pregnant and birthing, like there's so much in that. I feel like there's
Yeah.
even a really what's it called? There's a book. I actually have this book and I actually gave it away and then I got it, I adopted it again. It's about surviving like sexual trauma and then birthing. Because I
Hmm.
feel like, and I'm probably gonna have to have a deeper conversation on Spirit Baby Radio because I feel like I think it's minimized. Like people aren't really talking about
Yeah.
it, but I don't know about you, but in the world we're in now, every woman I know has been somewhat sexually assaulted, even on a
Right.
minor level. Like I remember walking down the street and someone grabbing my butt. Do you know what I mean? In my 20s.
Yeah.
And
And
that's a mild assault, but that's still an assault.
well, and that happened when I was a kid. I mean, I went to high school in the 80s, and even before high school, it was nothing for a boy to come up and grab a girl's butt or even her bra strap or even her breast. And it was
Yeah.
just like, ha ha, boys will be
Yes,
boys.
exactly.
And that is assault. That's
Yeah.
assault. You can't go up and grab somebody, a part of their body, especially a more private part of their body. It's just horrendous to think about what used to be
Yeah.
like considered normal.
Yeah, you're just
Yeah.
reminding me too. I remember being in New York City at a club and these two guys came up and they both hands went down and grabbed. I was mortified. I started jumping up and down and I ran away.
Yeah.
And then it's like you're just kind of scared and like protecting yourself, but it's like you said, it was almost like it's okay to do that. And so now we're coming up to a time of, I think, more empowered birthing experiences
Yes.
for women. And as I was telling you about the free birth, I actually do have some episodes on free birth from some women who felt like, and I think, wow, I feel like consciousness has really changed. But I know with your energy, you were kind of a pioneer, by the way.
It's so funny that
Right,
at
you
this point
are,
in my life I'm
exactly.
still talking about this. I
But I
love
think,
it though.
yeah, it's amazing because, like you said, you wrote your memoirs, your books based on, and I don't think it's uncommon, and maybe you can tell me I'm right or wrong, is that when you've had this twisted reality of how a relationship impacts you, that you're gonna subconsciously be in relationship with maybe somebody that's not so fitting for you, right? It's like,
Yeah, it's because I had no idea I was not given any kind of guidance or
yeah,
there were no lessons being taught, and I had no example of what a good relationship would be. My parents divorced when I was 9. Before
yeah.
that, they were yelling at each other all the time,
Oh,
and then my dad was never around, so I didn't really have a
yeah.
dad in my life after that. And I had two older sisters. One was killed in a car accident when she was a
Oh,
teen, but I was home alone all the time, and I was scared
mm,
all the time, and I had
oh.
nobody, uh, to guide me. Like I
To
keep
mentor
saying that,
you.
but
Yeah, to
yeah,
mentor and model. I think we do that. Like, I feel like we go inward maybe. And I know it's generational too. You said you're going to be how old?
60. I'm 60 in June. Yeah,
That's wild. So I'm going to be 51. So
yeah,
we're like 10 years apart.
yeah.
So a little bit of a different space, but also like I feel like at that time back in the day, it was just, I know what I did was I just was the shy person that kept everything
Hmm.
in. and observed, but also just I also disassociated a lot
Mm-hmm.
because you're trying to figure out life and what that looks like and what it's about. And I know little did you know you kept following somewhere inside your heart, right? It's like you kept
Yeah.
following even though and it is hard. I feel like our mom and dads really set the tone of our
Mm-hmm.
relationships. Like, and
Yeah.
I laugh because I'm like, what are you going to do? Because if they have trauma, I mean, it's like,
Yeah.
how do you not grow up? And I do think we can, work really hard, obviously, to change the best we can.
Yeah.
And for me, it was the inner infant. Like you talk about your
Mm.
child stuff. Mine was the inner child of the infant. And there was so much, trauma in that for me. And I was in denial about it for a long time because I think it was suppressed inside me. Like it
Yeah.
wasn't. So in my 30s, it started to come out. And I was just like, and it's intense when those things come out because you're just kind of like, what is this? What's happening? But I
Yeah.
do feel like our body, felt, sense, experience has that information. And it sounds like what you're
Mm-hmm.
sharing. It's like, all right, it's ready to release somehow. But sometimes our brains, I feel like, oh my gosh, like it's a crisis. It's a upside down reality, but then
Yeah.
you fortunately get to forge through it because I know some people don't.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's
Mm.
the reason that I wrote my book, and it's the reason I talk about it openly on podcasts and that is because I want people to know that it's possible to come out of that. It's possible to, when you hear stories of other women, other people, going through a major mental breakdown or any kind of trauma and then
Yeah.
getting sort of stuck there.
Yeah.
So many people get in that spot and they don't know how to get out. And I didn't know how to get out. It's not a
Yeah, of
matter of
course.
knowing the steps, it's a matter of just knowing that it's possible will give you
Yeah.
hope to continue just to go on. So,
And I think
yeah,
it's layered, right? Because there's so many ways we bring healing. And I know I've had layers of like, I get caught in physical sick patterns like my whole
mm,
life. And I'm like, it as an empath, the energy's red, but also there's this like lineage. And I'm like, so there's been like, okay, but I do believe like you do, is we believe in people to share our stories
yeah,
because it shows like, wow, like that person's been through the dark night of the soul, we can
yeah,
say. And then that, even though I like to tell women if they're having those really deep grief or things are happening, I say, you know what? It's a season. And I know
mm-hmm.
it's easier said than done,
Right,
but it's
right. At
like,
the time, you're like,
like
yeah,
I'm like, every day I feel like is a new day we wake up to,
yeah,
right? And then we get to like I feel like I'm bringing it back to self-love, like, because I
mm-hmm.
don't think we're all self-loving enough to ourselves.
Right. No, absolutely.
No,
Yeah.
like everybody is so self, like nothing is good enough. This is bad. I look like this. I feel like, but it's like I started this little mantra now and it's very random that I remember, but I'm a back sleeper and my hands sometimes go here and I
Yeah.
say, "Oh, when I do this, my mind and my physical body say I love you no matter what." So
Mm.
I live like, I love you. I love you. Like really sitting with ourselves and saying that can feel very vulnerable. And some people
Yeah.
don't even want to say it. But I
Right,
was like, but
right.
what if we keep telling ourselves how valuable we are in this time of consciousness? We are here for a reason. We're
Mm-hmm.
not here to just, okay, whatever. It's like we're here to
Yeah.
impact the community, connect with
Yeah.
people from our own heart space in our own authentic way. And that's where I think people judge themselves, right?
Yeah.
Because it's like, I think there's so many unique people out there that can be so hard on themselves. And I'm like,
Yeah.
they're so cool and hip and funky to me, and they're like super insecure. I'm like, okay, fuck you. That's your own thing. Get over it. I know it's easier said than done because I'm
Yeah.
like, people I think are more phenomenal than they realize. And I think that's what
Right.
we're all like, you're doing your podcast, I'm doing my pods. Like, let's share because there are a lot of tragic stories. I've heard them. I've sat
Mm-hmm.
with clients many a years of traumas and things that I actually didn't think even existed. Like I'm like, they just put this in my reality. But then
Mm.
watching their beautiful energy overcome
Yeah.
it or their light body is so much stronger. It's like, not that I do believe we don't have to carry the feeling energy of our past. We can see it like a movie when we get to
Yeah.
that level. Because
Yeah.
if people are feeling still activated in their body, it hasn't fully released, is
Right.
my perception. It's like, oh, I get to look at that window someday. It's just like, oh, it's there, it happened. And
Mm-hmm.
it's just like that's then and this is now. So
Yeah.
I feel you.
Yeah, and part of So when I started writing, it was a journal. It was for me to understand what happened and how I got to where I was now. It was just a journal to help me remember and help to connect those dots. So that was part of the therapy, was getting it out of me because it was all in here and I was having nightmares and I was having panic attacks even and everything, and it was all within me. So writing it that very first time, writing it all out,
Mm.
I hadn't said anything to anybody other than my therapist, but writing it all out was a huge step for me, for healing, for getting all of that out of me.
Mm.
Besides, like, having that sort of, connecting those dots and understanding how I got from there to here and that. So, besides all of that, that first book started as a journal, and it was really a big part of it was getting it out of me so I can sleep. I can like put that over here and now I can sleep and I can pick that back up when I'm ready to look at it again or add to it. So that's how that happened. Yeah, and
Yeah,
I
thank you for
really,
creating these books because I feel like vulnerability is a big deal. It's like,
yeah,
am I airing out this intimate like reality? And I tend to, in the
yeah.
years of Spirit Baby Radio, I've hesitated on sharing some things. I'm like, I guess I'm going there, like because it does feel very like seen and very like, oh, like am I even able to hold that space that I was in that
Yeah.
was traumatic? And I felt like not also, but like you had, that natural birth and then went to home birth. I had a home birth transfer that was very traumatic and life
Mm-hmm.
changing for me, my son, and my whole consciousness. I
Yeah.
often joke and say my firstborn broke my second chakra wide open, and
Yeah.
it was deep. And then the second one was night and day compared, and their energies are very set and different from those birth
Mm-hmm.
experiences. Where the
Yeah.
second one was a home birth, orgasmic, by the way, which I didn't try to do, it just happened.
Right.
And was just in the space of so much love, and there were so many things that were different, and so I have these like completely opposite experiences. One was just, yeah, it was intense, and the other was like, expansive. And I love storytelling, and I think we all have
Yeah.
different, really tragic and intense stories we need to hear, but we also have so many fucking beautiful, like enlightened stories, which I
Yeah.
feel like, all are welcome. So thank you for making these books for us.
Oh,
That's a big deal.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I want to thank you for your Spirit Baby cards.
Oh, that's right. You got,
I
I
got
love
them, yeah.
it.
Yeah,
How
so, speaking of
fun.
things that we might not, always talk about, and I don't even know if it's in my book. It has to be in the book, but it's something I don't talk about very much, but I think this is a good place to bring it up, is that I had a miscarriage
Yeah.
in with the second marriage, and I think I was either 40 or 41, and I was already 15 weeks along. So that's the
Oh,
time, I just started to hear the heartbeat, just started to feel
oh,
movement,
yeah.
started to tell people. But so recently too, I was going to be on a live event for sibling loss,
Mm,
and they market it as the grief no one talks about. And it
mm.
got me thinking that the grief no one talks about really is miscarriage, because so many
Wow.
women go through
Yes.
miscarriage, and we just are like, yeah, it happens to a lot of people, and there was probably something
Mm,
wrong, and blah blah blah, and it's just kind of like shoved on the wayside. But it is a grief. That is a grief
yeah.
when when you know you're pregnant and you lose the baby for whatever reason, and then there is the grief, and nobody talks about that grief. So,
Well, that's my
yeah.
miscarriage is my specialization. I've been working
Mm-hmm.
with for over a decade, like weekly. I don't,
Mm-hmm.
very rarely do I have someone that hasn't had some kind of miscarriage or
Right.
stillbirth or later loss. And I love that you just said that in that way. It was so loving. Like it's the grief no one talks about. Like it's just people move on, but
Yeah.
that's so fascinating. Yeah. And of course we're advocating, we're still speaking about it because women still aren't fully taken care of, especially in
Right.
America
Yeah.
after loss. Like I know in other countries it's different. More in
Yeah.
indigenous tribes, they have more traditional ways
Yeah.
of bringing it in because when we have these losses that happen with women, mothers, they have to slow down their life and be with the
Yeah.
feelings. And I think what you're saying is like, all right, just go back to work, just go do this.
Yeah.
Is like, oh my gosh, like that is so terrible.
Yeah.
Like the women have to come up, mothers to come up to the altars of their own loss within their
Yes.
bodies. And I do have a lot of spirit baby episodes that go into that you are a death and life inside you, because I want people
Hmm.
to break that structure and look at it and be
Yeah.
held and loved, because I've worked with women in the middle of a session in miscarriage at times. Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
very different energy. And then after, of course, I have many. And my whole thing is like, are you bringing tenderness and compassion in those moments after? And who is your support? Who is taking care of you and loving you?
Yeah.
Because we do need the village to
Yeah.
come. The other women that go, oh, let me brush your hair. Let me feed you some food. Let's put some salve on your womb. And like your
Yeah.
body will heal 1,000 times quicker
Yeah.
with that love. Did you get to
Yeah.
have support after or not? Yeah.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Yeah.
I was working full time at the time,
Yeah.
and I, went to work that day, and my husband at the time actually accused me of doing something, and then later accused me of like, well, I bet you weren't even pregnant, and it's like,
Oh,
didn't you heard
shoot.
the heartbeat, and I mean, like, how can you even say
Yeah,
that?
that's
So I
terrible.
was just really, I had no support. Yeah, no
Yeah.
support.
Well, thank you for
No,
bringing
yeah.
bringing that up. I know we didn't get into that because I feel like I know it could be a deeper conversation, and it is
Yeah.
unfortunate that I know. But now you get to speak about it and say, you know
Yeah.
what? Like you need to take care of yourself if you have loss, and what things do you need and how do we do that?
Yeah.
So now I want you just to share any final words to everybody, and then yet again I'm going to say your podcast and your books and how we can get them.
Yeah, thank you. So I think that final words are just that, your story matters. Everybody's story, regardless of how you perceive it, if it's good or bad, it's going to be helpful to somebody in some way. So I think that it's important to share, whatever your experience is, it's important to share. And like I said, to, women who are scared, whatever they're thinking of, if they're thinking of home birth and they're scared, or if they're thinking of just going a more natural route, or seeing how that goes for them, you have a lot of time. If you're pregnant, you have a lot of time to, to work on that before you give birth, and let your care providers know this too, so that they can help you to feel more confident in your body and feel more confident with your choices. So also, the whole idea of my podcast and, is informed decisions. So I think that it's really important to get all the information you can and not listen to all the background noise. So that's what I want people to know. So the podcast is Holistic Connections, Conversations with Holistic Practitioners on most podcast platforms, and my YouTube channel, which is just my name. And then my books are I Didn't Come This Far to Only Come This Far. And then the other one is Behind the Mask, Gloves, and Scrubs, One Nurse's Journey. And they're both on Amazon and Kindle.
Wonderful. Excellent. Thank you, Pamela, for being
Thank
here.
you.
And I want to thank everybody for joining episode 243, Spirit Baby Story, Sharing from Heart, from Conception into Birth. The New Earth Children of Today, Real Spirit Baby Stories, Real Connection, and Real Truth. Thank you for joining Spirit Baby Radio with your host, me, Kelly Meehan. Please join my community and stay in touch with monthly energy rants, Spirit Baby poetry, and get access to Spirit Baby 101 with tips and practices at my newsletter at newearthchildren.com. And join me on Instagram with lives at Spirit Baby Medium, and join the Mighty Networks, the Spirit Baby Collective membership, and Motherhood to Mediumship. Remember, you are the heart that holds communication, and it is your time to connect. Come share in the great shift of your mind and the true spirit of your heart with Spirit Baby Communication.